Hello and welcome to Simplify Your Journey to the Cloud with Red Hat and Google Cloud. Today's webinar is sponsored by Red Hat and Google Cloud and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Scott Becker. I'm from Actual Tech and I'm excited to be your moderator for this especially timely presentation. Now, before we get to today's great content, we do have a few housekeeping items that will help you get the most out of this session. First off, we want this to be an informative event for you, so we encourage any questions in the questions box in your webinar control panel. Not only will we have team members responding to questions during the live event, we'll also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the presentation where we'll discuss in greater detail some of the top questions that you have. The Q&A panel is also the place to let us know about any technical issues that you might be experiencing. A browser refresh will fix most audio, video, or slide advancement issues, but if that doesn't work, just let us know in the Q&A and we'll provide further technical assistance. Now, second, in the handout section of your webinar control panel, you'll find that we're offering several resources. I'd especially like to call your attention to 4 resources about Red Hat and Google together. So there's one on migrating from CentOS Linux to Red Hat Enterprise Linux on Google Cloud. There's one on effectively managing deployments in Google Cloud with Red Hat Insights. There's one on focusing on innovation with Red Hat Enterprise Linux and Google Cloud. And then there's a link to the Google Cloud Marketplace, the entry for the Red Hat Enterprise Linux for Google Cloud download in there. So I encourage you to access all of those resources now and share them with your friends and colleagues. Now, third, at the end of this webinar event, we will be awarding a $250 Amazon gift card to one lucky registrant. Of course, you must be in attendance during the live event to qualify for the prize. The official terms and conditions of today's prize drawing can be found in the handout section. Just scroll to the bottom and you'll find the prize terms and conditions link there. Okay, with all that housekeeping out of the way, let's get to our fantastic discussion here today. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to our presenters. We have Jim Chang, who's a staff solution architect with Red Hat, and we have Stephen Richardson, who's lead GTM partner engineer for Google Cloud. So Jim, I'll turn things over to you to get us started.
Hello, thank you for joining us today between Red Hat and Google Cloud in our webinar session on how to simplify your journey to the cloud with Red Hat and Google Cloud. I am Jim Chang with Red Hat, and I'm a solution architect. And on here with me is my partner in crime, Stephen Richardson. Stephen, would you want to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, hey, I'm Stephen Richardson. I'm a lead go-to-market partner engineer for Google Cloud, and I'm going to be joining Jim on this presentation.
Thank you, Stephen. So I'm sure everybody here is very interested to understand how to simplify your journey with Red Hat and Google Cloud as you move your workload into the cloud world or in some sort of combination. Did you know that 63% of the organizations in the world now run more than 25% of their workload in the public cloud? That's a very interesting fact, right? People are definitely adopting cloud as a target of their workload, and more workload is moving towards there. Did you also know that according to a recent survey of more than 1,200 IT professionals across all major industries spanning all major geographic areas of the globe, the majority of the respondents, in this case more than 58%, have basically decided a hybrid cloud strategy, right? What that does is that means is going to have some workload in the on-prem data center and some workload outside that. That could be in the cloud, could be multiple clouds, right? But clearly the hybrid cloud strategy is where they want to aim towards to. And they also have an active integration and migration plan to achieve this goal.
Jim, can you tell me some of the hurdles you could run into while moving to the cloud?
Absolutely, Stephen. So here are some of the benefits moving to the cloud provides you, right? Number one, really is increase the flexibility and scalability that cloud provider provides for them, right? What this does is that they don't have to buy all the extra physical servers, right? They don't have to prepay for all those, and they can leverage the flexibility and scalability cloud provider brings in terms of on-demand billing, on-demand consumption use, as well as the scale, all the resources they can leverage. Another benefit that goes with cloud is increased performance, right? Now they have all the resources to leverage it. They have better network latencies for them to run their workload across the globe in the cloud providers. Another item is how to allow them to streamline operation and management, right? Because they're going to the cloud and they can leverage some of the tool sets that can help to basically streamline operationally supporting multiple areas of the IT infrastructure. Finally, optimize cost with convenient purchase option. This goes back, right? What cloud provider always have allowed is really the on-demand consumption model, right? If they use X amount of resources, they only have to pay for that X amount of resources, right? They don't have to pre-buy hardware, having stranded hardware and not able to leverage it. But also, besides these benefits, like Stephen mentions, there are always going to be hurdles going to that. And the reason is when you add a new platform, a new potential landscape to the IT component to add to the IT landscape, it does create complexity, right? And we can go a little bit more about how some of those complexity exist. Some of the reason that you're going to see in the complexity challenges in this case is really come down to access, compliance, security, and data control, just to name a few. Access, right? What this does is how do you ensure, right, the features, the capabilities, and some of the things that people used to take for granted in the on-prem environment when it's under their whole control, they can still access to those components, right? How do you make sure access to applications are consistent? How do you make sure when I run the workload on-prem, I'm going to get the same result when I run it in a cloud, in a multi-cloud environment? That's important. That's a challenge. Second thing is compliance and security, right? How do you make sure that, in my data center, I know I have all these rule sets, I have governance to make sure everything's done correctly to whatever the IT security policy I may have? How do we make sure that when we run that in the cloud environment, that still exists there as well? Finally, data control. As we know, very important. Data is important to all companies. Data is valuable. How do you make sure that when I have data running in a hybrid or multi-cloud environment, that data is secured right there? It's only allowing me to see it. There's got to be a tool set or solution that allows us to address all these three challenges that we mentioned right here. And this is how Red Hat Google Cloud believe we can help customers address those challenges by simplifying the complexity with a consistent platform, right? We believe that when customer selects Red Hat Enterprise Linux, as you may hear in a street term, RHEL, it will believe that by customers selecting Red Hat Enterprise Linux, it will basically allow them to address all the three challenges listed previously: access, security and compliance, and also data governance, data protection, right? By leveraging this in the multi-cloud environment, both in multi-cloud and hybrid environment, both on-prem in the data center, in this case in Google Cloud, by standardizing Red Hat Enterprise Linux as the operating system platform of choice for their workload, we can ensure that all those challenges mentioned previously will get addressed for the customer. One interesting information is that from a research said that 40% of the respondents selected standardizing on the operating system is the preferred approach to migrate workloads, right? They believe that by standardizing an operating system, they can accelerate them to move the workload from on-prem to the cloud environment, right? Thus allow them to take advantage of all the benefits that cloud brings for the workload. Goes back before, right? Scalability, flexibility of cloud, right? This is what, if the quicker they can migrate the workload from on-prem to cloud environment, they can take advantage of all the benefits. And also by standardizing with Red Hat Enterprise Linux, they can eliminate some of the challenges that you see when looking at a multi-cloud platform. Did you know, for those who don't know much about Red Hat Enterprise Linux, right? It is our flagship product that really is built based on open source contribution with the community, right? We basically take open source contributions, we kind of put it through the enterprise model to give customers a supported distribution that allows them to run their enterprise workload on there. What Red Hat Enterprise Linux provide is really a flexible and stable foundation to support hybrid cloud innovation, right? Besides hybrid cloud, also multi-cloud. It allows customers to deploy applications that are critical to the business to have a consistent experience across, whether it's a physical environment on-prem, whether it's a virtual environment, whether it's in a private cloud, whether it's a public cloud, or even a multi-cloud environment as well. So the important thing is that by standardizing on Red Hat Enterprise Linux, the customer run the workload, they're going to have the same outcome, same experience, whether it's on-prem or in Google Cloud or potentially in all the other aspects of it. What this does bring is really reduced the amount of complexity they have to manage, right? What this also brings is it allows them is also makes them to have a same, they can have the same security posture, security policy to govern their IT data, to govern their data itself, whether data sits on-prem, whether it sits in the cloud itself. It is built on a couple of things, right? Number one really is innovation, right? It basically, all these updates from all the contributions from community, Red Hat then takes it and basically add features into Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So that way, all the innovation that's contributed from open source community world can be seen in the future versions of Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Not only that, anything that we Red Hat innovates as well, we will contribute back to the community as well, upstream, whether it's CentOS Stream or back to Fedora upstream itself. Also, another thing is, right, Red Hat Enterprise Linux is definitely designed to protect customers' data, right? There's a feature called SE Linux built within Red Hat Enterprise Linux itself that allows the customer to really lock down, secure the operating system environment, so that way the data is safe, right? That's going to be the same whether it's wherever you run the workload, because you're leveraging Red Hat Enterprise Linux as the OS platform. Well, what's the value of the Red Hat Enterprise Linux, right? There's definitely going to be all these benefits from that. To name a few, right? You have the security resources that helps you secure the operating system, secure your data that sits on top of it, right? There's definitely, the life cycle support and flexibility. With all the major releases, we can do 10 plus years of major support, 2+ years of minor. What this allows a customer is a peace of mind that when they run the workload on Red Hat Enterprise Linux, they know they're going to have long-term support. As we all know, sometimes application update may not happen as frequently. You want to make sure that this app you're running from 5 years ago is still supported. Because Red Hat Enterprise Linux supports 10 years plus for major releases, customers still run on Red Hat Enterprise Linux 6, 7. They'll still get support from Red Hat, so that way they don't have to worry about, am I going to lose support for the operating system for my OS platform, for my application, if I have forced to be upgrade the OS itself. Another thing you have is that proactive analytics. There are definitely tool sets within the Red Hat Enterprise Linux ecosystem itself that allows you to get better understanding, better view of your overall environment. Lastly, right, because you customers has a subscription of Red Hat Enterprise Linux, they're going to get the support and engineering expertise to help them navigate through should a problem arise. So I mentioned about predictive analytics toolset, right? There's a tool set called Red Hat Insights. It is part of the portfolio with Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And this is what I refer to, talk about predictive analytics that it provides. It can give an overall view to look at across your fleet of Red Hat Enterprise Linux machines. How are they in compliant with best practices? How, is there any deviation with it? Is there any optimization needs to be done, right? These are all important to be able to give administrators or architects a view to see where are some changes that need to address, to optimize. And this is really based on the latest best practices. So imagine you may configure a machine 3 years ago. It was using best practices back then. You never update it because you can't update it because your application sits on top of there. But no problem. Because Red Hat Enterprise Linux, we support 10 plus years on major releases, you're still being supported on Red Hat. But if you have something like Red Hat Insights, it'll give you that, oh, there's some updated best practices on how to configure for this particular workload for this Red Hat Enterprise Linux machine. You should go ahead and make those changes to get the best, an extra horsepower for your machine, right? That's just one example right there. But did you also know that Red Hat Insights is included with all active Red Hat Enterprise Linux subscriptions? Which means if you're running an active Red Hat Enterprise Linux subscription in Google Cloud as well, you have access to the toolset.
Jim, this sounds awesome. Could you give me a little insight on how a Google Cloud customer can take advantage of Red Hat Insights?
Absolutely, Stephen. So first of all, when customers are consuming Red Hat Enterprise Linux through the Google Cloud Console, which means you're using the Google blessed version of the Red Hat Enterprise Linux image, the Insight toolset, the Insight agent is already included in there. So number one, you don't need to install anything at all. There's no additional software package need to be installed at all. It's already in there. All you have to do is go to your Red Hat support portal to basically configure and say, I need to allow Red Hat Insights to kind of give best practices to my viewpoint, right? Essentially, you go into Red Hat support portal, you say, my VMs are running in Google Cloud right there. Let me go ahead and give me those tool sets. They'll give me the view of all the best practices. And then you can look at a report through the Red Hat support portal and say, okay, here are my machines sitting in Google Cloud or elsewhere or on-prem, right? Here are things that it's not configured to best practices. Here's the steps to remediate it. And then all you have to do is go through, figure out time you want to make those changes, reboot if necessary, and then now you can take advantage of all the benefits, right? That's just one example of what you can do. And as Stephen says, if you're running, when you're running a Red Hat Enterprise Linux from Google Cloud Console, it's an active subscription. You're entitled to all these tool sets, and Insight is definitely one of them. You can definitely take advantage of it. Another thing you look at is what Insight also gives you is optimize your cost, right? Because it allows you to track, to right size your environment, right? Let's go back to best practices. Imagine you're deploying the workload on, 256 vCPU for whatever reason you have, but you're actually not using the full advantage of it, right? So maybe you can look at is how do I right size it and help optimize the cost that way. Another possibility to look at is you can leverage Insight looking at reduced downtime, right? It allows you to find where some of the, because you can look at how the current system performs against best practices. For example, a while back, a long time ago, there used to be, issues that the system can't be staying up for, 350 days, whatever reason it is. Well, because the system's been up for 349 days and this issue exists, you can plan a reboot if necessary, for example, so that way you don't have a hard downtime issue which impact business, right? All this comes down to really is Red Hat Insights gives you, the customer, the client, a basically snapshot view across your landscape of all the machines running Red Hat Enterprise Linux, whether it's on-prem, whether it's Google Cloud or elsewhere. So you know that how do you optimize it and really see, plan your needs, right? And also be able to address concerns should arise. So what is Red Hat Insights? Right? We talked about all the benefits that Red Hat Insights provides. What it really does is that it sends kind of a capture of the information once a day to the Red Hat portal, right? To Red Hat Aggregate right there. It's anonymized, of course, right? So obviously only you see your data, nobody else sees it. But then it gives you kind of a snapshot of your configuration of these Red Hat Enterprise Linux machines. So this, based on that, it compares against our knowledge base repository. So that way you can see where my misconfigured machine may be and how to address it, right? Then this also brings in it because as best practices gets updated, then you definitely will see the latest best practices, right? This goes back to my example before is you may be running a machine that's 3 years, 4 years, you haven't changed it yet because you never had to. But with insights, then you can definitely see the latest one. Let's say you're running some Oracle workload potentially. Latest configuration is to do XYZ to optimize, to push extra, performance out of it. You can have that, and then you can decide when and where and how you want to implement those changes.
I just want to interject here, Jim, and want to say how Google Cloud is proud to present Red Hat with the Google Cloud Partner of the Year this year for infrastructure and compute. I know I'm proud. And, it's great. It's been great working with you this year. And I just hope that you guys are continue to work at the way that puts you at the level that gives you the ability to have this award. And so, this is something that I'm really proud that you guys were able to achieve this year. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys can do next year.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephen. So if you have any questions, we can definitely open it up and answer any questions you may have. Stephen, we'll start with the first one, please.
Sure. First question I have is, we inherited the CentOS and workloads associated with CentOS. If we want to start planning to convert CentOS to Red Hat Enterprise Linux and move those workloads to Google Cloud, how do we start?
Absolutely. There's definitely some easy way tools that Red Hat provided to help customers convert the CentOS workload into RHEL. One of it is what we call a convert to RHEL tool, CONVRT number 2 RHEL. What allows it does is really help CentOS 7 images get connected, basically convert the RHEL process, and then access the repos, get all the updates, which is the most important part, right? You want to make sure your OSs still get the proper security updates to ensure that you're protected. Once that conversion process is done, then you can have many ways to bring it to Google Cloud, right? One of them is you can bring it directly into Google Cloud, all right? And, your traditional, what we call BYOS, bring your own subscription model. That's one possibility. But I think the preferred method is really leveraging, the commitment your organization may have with Google Cloud. Really is that when you import the images via the Google Cloud API process, when you import it in, you can pick two options. One of the option is allow billing by Google for the OS, for the subscription per se, right? So when doing that part is you are then that spend on the RHEL OS, premium OS, is going to count towards your Google commit if you have one. But also that allows you to align kind of what you're looking for going through through Google Cloud in the first place. Really is the on-demand billing aspects, right? So then if your machine is only running 10 hours a week, you're going to be getting billed for 10 hours a week, right? That's the advantage of why people want to go into Google Cloud in the first place, is enjoy that on-demand billing, the flexible billing, and the ability to scale up and down easily. So again, we can use the Convert to RHEL tool to convert your CentOS 7 to RHEL 7. You can then import it into Google Cloud and pick the Google Cloud billing option for the OS. Once you're on CentOS 7, then the world opens up for you. You can get to CentOS 8. You can get to RHEL 8. My apologies, RHEL 8. And then you go to RHEL 9. And those upgrade process are pretty much more easier, because with some of the what we call leap upgrade process and starting with RHEL 8, essentially is you can do all the updates, but not necessarily have to reboot right away, right? One of the things people are always concerned about is when I upgrade the OS, I got to reboot right away. The way the update process is structured, you do need a reboot sometime down the road. It's just that you may not have to reboot it right away. So you can say, I'm going to do the updates, go from 8.2 to 8.2.5, whatever the minor version is, but then you can then schedule an update based on your organization's change window. Get you flexibility that way.
Awesome. Thank you, Jim. Another question. Will Red Hat offer any type of extended support to CentOS 7 post the cutoff date? I think it's June 30th next year.
So that is in I'm going to put this way. It won't support CentOS 7 specifically because it's not ours to support. It's a community's. But I think there was some discussion potentially is that as long if Red Hat provides some sort of security update and you're in the process of converting from CentOS to RHEL 7, I think there is discussion that will help the customer through the journey. We know upgrade is not done overnight, right? We know conversion is not done overnight. With organizations with thousands of thousands of CentOS images in their fleet, it's going to take time to go through that. But we want to be a partner with you, Red Hat, Google Cloud, and yourself working together to help you through the journey. So there is some discussion about, once the customers start the process, the journey, how can we help you through the process? And there's some discussion for that. Details to be coming. I personally don't know specific right here, but I'm working with the BU all the time, and we're trying to get some more updates out to the organization, to the customers like yourself with updates.
Yeah, I'll just chime in. I think this is one of those areas where we're working with all of your favorite RSI and GSI partners to help facilitate some of these migrations. We know they're not small, so we know that they can be big, and we can help guide you through those life cycles and those projects. Another question. We use CentOS for development environment. Lots of CentOS questions. Which does not need 24/7, 365 premium support. What options do Red Hat provide?
Perfect question. I think I heard there's a rumor out there. There's a lot of CentOS work on Google Cloud, right? So people are trying to figure out what's the next path, right? There is definitely flexibility, right? We totally understand not every workload needs premium 24/7, 365 support because of the nature of the workload or the nature of the business unit running it. And Red Hat Enterprise Linux doesn't have to be 24, premium support all the time, right? There's other flexibilities. So we're constantly working with our partner, Google Cloud in this case, to figure out what other additional SKUs and options we can provide to customers on there via Google Cloud. But absent of that, right, there's a lot of potential RHEL SKUs opportunities, right? You can procure RHEL standard support for something that just want 9 by 5 days a week. Then we also have RHEL Dev for Teams, which is for people who are doing development work, right? Again, we understand the customer's business needs, and we understand everything is different. Everything is unique and no different. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation. But my ask is definitely reach out to your Red Hat account team or the partner of choice, or even Google Cloud in this case. Let's work with them. Let's work together and come up with a good strategy to solve your business needs, to basically give the right combination of solutions to address it versus a one-size-fits-all situation.
Awesome. Thank you, Jim. Yeah, last chance for any questions. I'm not seeing any more. I think at this point, Jim, I think we can say thank you and for joining our webinar around Red Hat Enterprise Linux and Google Cloud. And have a good day.
Absolutely. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And I will say definitely reach out to your Google Cloud account teams or Red Hat account teams if you have any more questions. We'll be here to support you.
Okay, well, thanks, Jim and Stephen. Really great presentation, and appreciate all those insights in the Q&A too. And this is just a last reminder about the handouts. There's those 4 handouts. You still got a minute if you wanted to grab any of those links. about Red Hat Enterprise Linux and Google Cloud. Okay, well, finally, it is time for the Amazon gift card prize drawing, as you can see on the screen. And the winner of this $250 Amazon gift card is Jason Nash from California. So congratulations to Jason Nash. We will be in touch to get you your card. Well, with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank Red Hat and Google Cloud for making this event possible. And thanks, as always, for attending and for your great questions. That's going to conclude today's event. Have a fantastic rest of your day.